If you are over 60 and you have noticed that you get short of breath more easily than you used to, you have probably told yourself the same thing most people do, that it is just age, that this is what getting older feels like. That explanation is wrong, and for some people, it is dangerously wrong. Shortness of breath is not a normal part of aging. It is a symptom. And in adults over 60, it is one of the most reliable early signals that something in the body is changing in a way that deserves medical attention. Today, I am walking you through the 5 conditions that doctors investigate first when an older adult reports increasing breathlessness. Stay with me to the end, because I will also explain exactly what tests to ask for specifically.
Welcome back. On this channel, we focus entirely on health after 60 because the way the body signals problems at this stage of life is different from what it was at 40. The signals are quieter, easier to rationalize, and frequently dismissed for months or years before they are correctly interpreted. Shortness of breath is medically described as dyspnea. It is not defined by how hard you are exercising or how far you have walked. It is defined by the experience of breathing requiring more effort than it should. Climbing a flight of stairs that used to cause no difficulty, walking to the mailbox and needing to stop, waking up at night unable to get a comfortable breath, feeling winded during a conversation. Each of these patterns has a different clinical significance. What they have in common is this: none of them are explained by age alone. Let us go through the 5 conditions doctors check first. Condition number 1, heart failure.
Heart failure does not mean the heart is stopped. It means the heart is no longer pumping efficiently enough to meet the body's demands. When pumping capacity declines, fluid backs up into the lungs. The lungs become less compliant. Breathing requires more effort. The sensation is often described as breathing through a damp cloth. The pattern is recognizable when you know what to look for. Breathlessness that is worse when lying flat and improves when sitting up. Often worse at night, accompanied by ankle and foot swelling, fatigue disproportionate to activity, and sometimes a persistent cough. These features together form a clinical picture that points directly toward the heart.
After 60, hypertension, coronary artery disease, and diabetes are all major risk factors for heart failure, and all are more prevalent in older adults. The diagnosis requires an echocardiogram and a blood test called BNP, or NT-proBNP, which measures a protein the heart releases when it is under strain. If you have not had an echocardiogram in the last 2 years and you are experiencing progressive breathlessness, that test belongs on your list. Condition number 2, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. COPD is the 3rd leading cause of death in the United States, and more than half of the people who have it do not know. The reason is consistent with how so many diseases present after 60. The early symptoms progress so gradually that they are attributed to aging rather than disease. COPD involves progressive airflow obstruction that makes it harder to exhale fully. Air becomes trapped in the lungs. Over time, the lungs hyperinflate and the diaphragm flattens, losing its mechanical advantage. Breathing becomes an active effort rather than a passive process. The muscles involved in breathing fatigue more quickly. Activity becomes progressively more limited. The early signs are a morning cough that has been present for years and accepted as normal. Breathlessness with exertion that has progressed so gradually it went unquestioned, and a reduction in physical tolerance that has led to doing less without understanding why. The diagnosis requires spirometry. This is a simple breathing test that takes approximately 15 minutes and measures how much air you can exhale and how quickly. It is not performed as part of a standard physical examination unless you ask for it. If you have a history of smoking, even a distant one, or a career with exposure to occupational dust or fumes, spirometry is a test worth requesting specifically. Condition number 3, pulmonary hypertension. Pulmonary hypertension is high blood pressure in the arteries that supply the lungs. It is entirely distinct from systemic high blood pressure and cannot be detected by a standard blood pressure cuff. As pressure in the pulmonary arteries rises, the right ventricle has to work progressively harder to push blood through the lungs. Over time, it enlarges and weakens. The capacity to oxygenate the blood during exertion declines progressively.
The symptom pattern is insidious. Breathlessness, present only with significant exertion in the early stages, gradually becomes present with minimal activity. Fatigue and dizziness on standing are common. Some people experience chest pressure. In advanced cases, fainting with exertion occurs. After 60, pulmonary hypertension is often secondary to heart failure, COPD, or sleep apnea. Because it frequently coexists with other conditions, it is easily overlooked unless explicitly investigated. If your breathlessness has been evaluated and remains unexplained, this is a diagnosis that may not yet have been ruled out and is worth raising with your doctor directly. Condition number 4, anemia. Anemia is one of the most commonly missed and most easily treated causes of breathlessness in older adults. It is also one of the most satisfying to identify because treatment produces rapid and measurable improvement. Hemoglobin carries oxygen from the lungs to every cell in the body. When hemoglobin levels fall below a certain threshold, the body compensates by increasing both breathing rate and heart rate to circulate available oxygen more rapidly. The result is breathlessness with exertion, persistent fatigue, and sometimes palpitations, even when the heart and lungs are structurally normal. Anemia in older adults has multiple causes. Silent gastrointestinal bleeding, which produces no visible symptoms, is one of the most common. Vitamin B12 deficiency from declining stomach acid and reduced absorption after 60 is another. Chronic kidney disease, which reduces the production of erythropoietin, the hormone that signals the bone marrow to produce red blood cells, is a third. A complete blood count is the final test and is included in most standard panels. If one has not been done in the last year and you are experiencing progressive breathlessness, it is a reasonable and inexpensive first step that takes one blood draw. Condition number 5. Atrial fibrillation. Atrial fibrillation is the most common cardiac arrhythmia in adults over 60, and it frequently presents with breathlessness as its primary symptom rather than the palpitations most people expect. When the upper chambers of the heart fibrillate rather than contract in a coordinated rhythm, the heart's efficiency as a pump declines. The reduction in cardiac output, particularly with exertion, produces breathlessness ranging from mild to severe. Some people notice a racing or fluttering sensation. Others experience only fatigue and breathlessness with no awareness of any rhythm abnormality. What makes atrial fibrillation critical to identify is its association with stroke risk. When the atria fibrillate, blood pools and clots can form that travel to the brain. Untreated atrial fibrillation increases stroke risk by approximately 5 times compared to normal rhythm. The challenge is that atrial fibrillation is frequently paroxysmal. It comes and goes. A standard ECG taken during a period of normal rhythm will miss it entirely. A 24 or 48-hour Holter monitor, which records heart rhythm continuously, is the appropriate test when paroxysmal atrial fibrillation is suspected. If your breathlessness is episodic and occurs in bursts without an obvious trigger,
This is the exact pattern to bring to your doctor's attention. If you have been experiencing progressive shortness of breath, describe it specifically to your doctor. How long it has been present, what activities trigger it, whether it is worse at night or when lying down, whether it is worsening over weeks or months. That level of detail changes what gets investigated. If you have been told it is just age and the symptom continues to progress, go back. Request specifically a complete blood count, an echocardiogram, spirometry, and an ECG. These are standard tests, not unusual, not aggressive. They are what a thorough evaluation of breathlessness in an older adult should include. Have you been attributing shortness of breath to aging? Leave a comment below. I read every single one, and your experience might be exactly what someone else watching this needed to hear. If this was useful, share it with someone over 60 in your life. Shortness of breath is one of the most actionable symptoms in older adults and one of the most frequently ignored.
And if you are not subscribed yet, new videos every week focused entirely on health after 60. No ads, no products to sell. I will see you in the next one.